Hey, this is Roque Economics. I was thinking about how we don't really know much about how our society works. We haven't really been taught about the functions of, the institutions and the layers of society that are surrounding us in our everyday life, and we take that with us in our adult life. Also, when it comes to economics, we really know very little about how things work. And I was thinking about when I was a kid, a child, and I think I was about 8 years old, and me and my brother wanted to feel how it was to be rich. We wanted to experience what it was like to have a lot of money in our hands. And so I guess we became counterfeiters because we started to draw up our own money bills. We borrowed a few money bills from our parents, and then we put a piece of overlay on top of these money bills, see-through paper. And then we drew up the money bills in a very primitive fashion. Of course, we were just kids. To make, and then we would cut out the fake bills that we've made in order to make a pile of fake money, to try and experience what it would be like to have a wad of money bills in your hand. And I remember just being 8 years old while we were doing this. I was thinking to myself, man, I mean, if we could just keep doing this, if we could make as much money as we wanted, print as much of our own money as we wanted, and we could actually buy stuff with this, we could buy everything. I mean, everything. And when a kid thinks about this kind of stuff, I mean, as a kid, you don't have the intellectual capacity to really expand on that notion, other than I could buy all the candy in the world. But there was a question in my head, because we had the real money bills, and I looked at the money bills, the real ones, and I thought, well, what about the people who are printing these? I mean, these are real money. Can't they do the same? Can't they just print as much money as they want to and then buy everything? What about us? What are we going to buy if they have everything? And as a kid, you can't answer a question like that. You don't have the intellectual capacity to answer questions like that. And so you kind of stop there when you're a kid. And as a kid, what you do then is you look at the adults in your life. You look at your parents, you look at your teachers, you look at, I don't know, the priest, I don't know. You look at the politicians and you ask yourself, well, are these people accepting things as they are? Because these are the authorities in your life. I mean, these are the people who are supposed to know what is right and wrong and what works and what doesn't. And so you look at these people and, well, they seem to accept the way things are. They're not complaining, they're not asking questions. And as a kid, you have to conclude that, well, if the adults in your life thinks that this is okay, then it must be okay, right? I mean, you can't do any more than that. And so what we do is we bring these narratives that we adopt as children. We bring those narratives with us into our adult lives. And there's an issue with that, in my opinion, because as we become adults, we don't take up these childhood narratives and evaluate them once again with our larger intellectual capacity to scrutinize the narratives we've been taught. So when we accept narratives in our childhood and we just bring them into adulthood without taking them up again and looking at them and asking ourselves, do we still believe in this? Is this really correct? Is this the right thing to do? Then a lot of fake narratives, or a lot of, I want to say bad narratives, but maybe inconvenient narratives can slip under the radar and just be a factor in your adult life without you being able to think about it, because you don't take those narratives up for consideration again. And looking at being a rookie as I am, being an ignorant as I am, looking at finance and economics, I just come to realize that I know very little. I don't know much. I am a rookie in finance and economics, and I remember what I adopted about money and finance when I was a kid, and I realized that I'm just running on autopilot. It's only because I've started looking into this that I ask questions, and it makes me realize that, well, the little that I do know is stuff that I learned a long time ago, and it isn't necessarily true, right? I mean, what is money? Very few people ask themselves that. What is debt? As children, I don't know if you've been taught this, but as a child, I was taught that you don't spend more than you make, and you save some of your money for a rainy day. But adult life seems to be counterintuitive to this. It's almost like the more debt you have, the better. And you have to try to figure out how is that? How can that be when you've learned the opposite? And the way I see it is, well, it's like that because we live in a debt-based society where people with debt have the privilege, they have the advantage. They can leverage their investments or speculation, whatever they're doing, with debt. And if they have the right setup, they can have debt with lower interest rates than ordinary people, if you know how to set it up. And so what you've been taught as a kid can be very unproductive if it's not aligned with reality that we live in today. And I remember that in the past century, we're talking 1980s now, we didn't think like consumers as much, is the way I remember it. This is our society of today is very consumer based and very consumer oriented, and savers and responsible, disciplined people are being punished in our economy. The debtors, the spenders, the people running on impulse and lack of responsibility and discipline, in my opinion, are being rewarded because it's all short-term gains that we're focusing on. It's all for quick rewards and for the quick fix that we're making things work today. And that way, the way that I was raised to save money and so on, that is no longer rewarded. That is frowned upon because I should take my money and throw it into the economy and create growth. I should put my money into the economy so that we can have growth and profit and make the GDP higher. I shouldn't be saving. That is that's a losing investment. If I have my money in a savings account in a bank, I'm probably losing money due to inflation and taxes and so on because of the low interest rates. And so it's not rewarding to save. It's not rewarding to think long term anymore. And so, the narratives that we've been taught as children and the narratives that we practice as adults are oftentimes not aligned. I'm not saying that you should take on debt. That's not what I'm saying. In many instances, I think that debt is the last thing you should take on. unless it has some constructive perspective, you know, for investments, or, you know, if you're gonna invest in a business or something like that. But it just shows how reality changes, and how the world changes around us, and the narratives that we adopt at an early stage. If we don't take these narratives up for re-evaluation at times, we might be running on ideas and notions and principles that are outdated. That doesn't mean that I don't value the things I learned as a child. I actually still run on those values. I won't give them up even for a low interest rate on a loan. But it shows that the world can change around you, and it shows that as adults we run on things we learned a long time ago and we didn't question back then. And so when it comes to finance and economics, it could be time to look at what you learned as a kid and see the patterns and the narratives that you run on as an adult, and look at them. Take a second glance at them and reevaluate them. Especially if you trust banks. My experience is maybe you should ask yourself why. If you call your salesperson, your contact at your bank, if you call that person an advisor, maybe scrutinize that title a bit and ask yourself, who does that person work for? Where does that person earn his or her money? I would seriously suggest scrutinizing the government and several institutions in our society, like the mainstream medias and such, as to what are they really doing? Are they serving their readers? Are they serving their voters? Are they serving the public? Who are they serving? And is it long-term, short-term? What do they get out of it? And who do they get it from? There are a lot of narratives that we run on, and my goal with this video was actually just to make you think about what do you think about the narratives that you run on in your daily life, and where did you get them, and are they beneficial to you? Do they serve you, and do they represent reality of today? So yeah, that was just a quick video, and hope you have a nice day.